Righto, so my Farmertec 372 is about to be tested. Yeah, so that's had fuel in it, you can tell. I'm hoping that they tested it at the factory. This has not had oil in it, so here's some 40-to-1. 40-to-1 is what I use pretty much on everything, and that's a pretty big tank. Yeah, it is a big tank. Yeah, so I use 40-to-1 on all my two-strokes. Admittedly, like the manual for this says 25-to-1. That's crazy rich, but I use good Husqvarna two-stroke, which is, I believe it's fully synthetic. With the fully synthetic oil, my understanding is you can run it with a less rich mixture. Okay, now oil. So I'll have to go get some. Back in a sec. It's clean. Oh no, here's the oil. Again, Husqvarna chain oil. I don't know how much using cheap oil or non-chain oil in your oiler makes seals and pumps in that leak. It sounds like a load of nonsense, but you know what? If you use the real thing, then there's no. Oh, I've overfilled it. There's no excuses. Oh, I have overfilled that. Oops. Alright. So I've got bar oil going everywhere. I'll just try and soak some of it out. That's alright. Better more than less. Yeah. Screwed up already. Yeah. Alright, got oil everywhere now. Alright. So, just do a bit of cleanup. Alright. Bar oil everywhere. Alright, here's a tip. Don't overfill your bar oil tank because it goes everywhere. Now, I've got a bit over the muffler, so that's going to smoke up. Doesn't matter. Now, so I have not fired this up at all. So we're about to find out if this thing works. I'm assuming yes, because it's had fuel in the tank, because it's obviously been tested at the factory. I would like to think so. If they bother to put a serial number on it, I'm assuming that they tested it. So I'll just change the camera angle. So the first fire up. So that's stop, that's on. Choke out. Choke out. And away we go. It might take a while to fire up because it's been dry. Ooh, there we go. Wow, this is going to be interesting. Right now, the only thing that I want to cut that's serious is this old tree stump, which I've got about a ton of new growth that was growing off it that I just cut with my little Shindaiwa. And so I'm going to test this 372 on the stump. There's still a fair bit of, it's a very hard wood. It's an evergreen cassia. Last time I cut it, I don't know, I had a reaction to it, to the sawdust. Got up my nose and in my eyes, and it was just horrible. But I just cut a whole heap of it and I haven't had a reaction, so I don't know. But so this, you saw me start up the 372XP, and so that's this probably only the second time that it's been started, probably, because it was made in February 22, so that's a year ago. So, and it started like, yeah, not many pulls. So whoever made this one did a pretty good job. Alright, I'll have a go at this stump and see how she goes. Chain's a bit loose, I've got to tighten it. I'll be back in a stick. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because I'm starting to have that reaction to the sawdust that I did last time. I should really be wearing a mask, but man, it's just so hot in here. But last thing I want to be doing is restricting my breathing any more than this humidity already does. So I'll give this thing a clean up and then we'll go inside and we'll do a review again. Okie dokie. So I've played the B-roll, well that actually was the A-roll, of the chainsaw in operation. The first time that I'm putting fuel in it and bar oil in it, I didn't want to do any sneaky shit, start it before, make sure it starts or anything of that crap. That's the first time that I ever started it, okay, and used it. I did have a sniff of the fuel tank, and it did have a whiff of fuel. That's probably at the factory when they tested it. They probably just started up once and just gave it, tuned it and gave it a few revs and whatever. But generally, essentially, the fuel tank was dry, but you can still smell the fuel, the residue. So these days, these guys are really taking this stuff seriously, obviously, Farmertec, because they're testing the saws before they go out and they're serial numbering them like everybody else does, like the OEMs do. And yeah, wow. This thing pulls like a train. Yeah, there was a lot of rotten wood in that stump, but there's a lot of hardwood in there as well. And over the period that stump has been sitting there, which has been quite a while, that wood has only gotten harder. So yeah, but this thing just, yeah, not a problem. Yep, full chisel, skip chain. It eats it up. Realistically, it's an evergreen cassia, or what's left of an evergreen cassia, and that tree, when I first came here, when I first bought this house, that tree shaded a third of the house, and I'm not exaggerating, it shaded a third of the house, and you could walk from one end of the house to the other to where the shade of that tree was, and it was like walking in air conditioning. It was like, I'm not exaggerating, it was at least a 5 degrees Celsius or more drop. So at that time when I first came here, that tree was actually functioning. It had a function, and it was very useful in that way. But what happened was that it was just getting bigger and bigger. I'm talking, that tree was easily at least 25 metres, possibly 30 metres. I'm talking 100 feet. It was massive, like seriously massive, and had 2 trunks. And you can see from the footage of, you imagine what the circumference of that thing was when it was whole. It was huge. But one thing that I noticed early on is that it had fungus growing on it, plates of fungus, and it was so massive. And lucky I did get it cut down, because the reason I got it cut down is because I was getting worried about how big it was. And with when we get the cyclones here come through, I reckon it would have been pushed over at some stage. So I actually got a guy to do a quote to cut it down, and he said to me, he was too expensive, but he said to me, it's a good thing you're getting it cut down. I said, why is that? He said, see that fungus? And I said, yeah. He said, that's terminal. And it was. So I subsequently got another guy to cut it down. He was half the price, and he did an excellent job. And I actually I've had him do a few jobs, and he's excellent. And yeah, it was like, you imagine a 100-foot tall tree that's got a diameter of, that diameter would have easily been 3.5 feet, maybe 4 feet in diameter when it was whole, at the bottom. I'm not joking, it was massive, massive tree. And he carted that away. so there was 3 of them working on it. They had a chipper, and they had an EWP, an elevated work platform, a cherry picker, and they did that in one day, and he only charged me $800. Now, that was quite a few years ago, but that was like at least half the price as the next guy. So he's really, really cheap, but he does a great job. Anyway, I'm digressing. This saw, man, it pulls like a train. Well, you saw it. It started up after a few, hadn't been started up for a year, because it was built in February 22. It's February 23 now, and no problem starting. It didn't skip a beat. It didn't stall once. It didn't, yeah. I mean, I got it bogged in a couple of times, but because I had almost full length of the bar in there. So my understanding is that these things only get better and better as the parts are worn in, as the piston and the cylinder, you know, are worn into each other, and the rings. And I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but like one builder reckons that 10 tanks of fuel before you actually know what your saw is going to be, like truly going to be. So yeah, I've got a long way to go. Now, I'll review the saw. I've only just blown it off, but I haven't blown it everywhere. I've only just blown it off, and what can I say? So, I said that I wasn't going to take the full wrap handle off the Farmertec. So this is an OEM full wrap handle. This is a proper Husky full wrap handle. I did, because I was looking at it going, you know, it's just one of those Homer full wrap, one of those moments. So I just, yeah, I couldn't resist it. I put it on. Now, one of the issues with these full wrap handles is that bar nut, it's in the way, that bar nut, so you can't use your scrunch on that one. You have to actually use, well, to tighten it up anyway, you have to use a spanner. It's a 13mm spanner. The other issue is that it's right in the way of the chain adjuster screw. So you have to use a long screwdriver like that, thin screwdriver like that. Yeah, you can sort of get the scrunch in there, but it's not very good. Because these chain adjusters aren't, you know, as smooth as the OEM adjusters, I advise just using one of those if you're going to put the full wrap handle on. I don't know about the El Cheapo full wrap handle. I've got one coming. I'm assuming it's a Farmertec handle, although Farmertec make nothing. They get other people to make it. So I don't know if the geometry of the handle of this part might be different. Yeah, who knows? So let's see, what else did I do? So I've got the OEM dogs on there. They were excellent. But the stock standard dogs that come with the saw itself are great. Yeah, I've not got anything bad to say about the dogs that came with it. It was good. Let's see. The pipe. So I have put oh yeah, it's cool enough to touch. That got pretty hot, pretty dang hot. So this is a hot dog pipe. It's a dual port, and these are spark screens. Yeah. I don't know how effective that is, because of the rotten wood on that, a lot of rotten wood in that stump. There's a lot of dry punk wood, what you call punk wood. And this actually started a bit of it smouldering. I could see smoke coming, and I'm like, is that from the machete? No, it wasn't. It was actually a piece of punk wood on the inside. It was smouldering. I don't know, you might have seen it on camera. I don't know. But anyway, so you got to watch that, because these ports poke so far out, they're a lot closer. If you've got that thing right up against the wood, those dogs dug in, they are actually cooking the wood. Now, so it functioned excellent. I'm really, really happy. I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to turn out, you know, never having started it. That was the first time running, first time cutting. I'm really happy. One thing that this saw does not do that a lot of other Chinese saws do, and I've had, even my Shindaiwa does it. Maybe I need to replace a washer, but there's no fuel leaking out, there's no oil leaking out, and underneath, check it out, dry as a bone, no oil leaking out. That's excellent when you can't see. But there's no oil leaking out of this thing at all, anywhere, and there's no fuel leaking out, and that's really good. That is really good, because I have had, like on that Balmrag, I had to replace the fuel cap with an OEM one. I just couldn't stop it from leaking oil out of the oil cap. Yeah, it was the oil cap, and so what I did was I changed the washer on it and a different fibre washer and that, and did nothing. And then I ordered an OEM fuel cap from a Husky dealer in Townsville, and when I put that on, it stopped the leak. But this thing is not leaking at all anywhere. So it starts great, it runs great, it's got tons of power, it pulls like a train, and this muffler definitely is a completely different note to the standard muffler. What else can I say? No leaks. So if you're interested in buying quite a powerful chainsaw, get one of these G372XPs from Farmertec. Highly recommend it. This one is excellent. It's really good. So as a celebration for this being a success, because I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't know whether it was even going to start. I didn't know how it was going to run. Was I going to have to stuff around with the tuning? I didn't have to touch anything. I haven't touched anything, and I don't intend to muck around with the tuning until it's got a few tanks under its belt or a few trees under its belt. Really, I don't like to muck around with tuning too much. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about it. Yeah, I've watched more videos than I could care to remember about tuning chainsaws, or two-strokes in general, but chainsaws, and it's still, in fact, the only tuning that I've ever done on a chainsaw was I turned up the idle on my Shindaiwa. It kept dying while, this is after quite a period of time, like years and years. It just wouldn't keep idling. It'd idle, and then it'd die. And I just turned it like quarter of a turn, and yeah, that was the idle jet. Yeah, so I was starting to think that the carby needed a recode. Yeah, that thing's at least 15 years old, probably 17 years old, that thing. Yeah. I can't say enough about it. But this thing, wow. So cheers, I'm having a Bex. Oh yeah. It's late afternoon. I've drunk about 3 litres of ice water. Because that dead stump, I kid you not, I've got a pile that's about 10 foot wide by 10 foot long, that's 5 feet high, of new growth that I've just chopped up off that thing. It just wanted to keep on going. It wanted to keep on going. That little bit that was left, it was still growing heaps and tons of new growth out of it that I just had enough. Time to knock it down. So next time I cut it down, or next time I work on it, I'm either going to be wearing one of those, which is a full face, or at least one of these, because I do have a heap of them. I get them from work, because that sawdust from that cassia tastes like I swallowed a toad. No joke, it's horrible. And last time I worked on it, I had a really bad reaction to it. And I was okay cutting sawing the new growth. It didn't, because it doesn't. The sawdust off the green wood doesn't go very fine. You don't really get any fine stuff. Whereas with the older wood, there was a lot of fine stuff that was hanging in the air and I was breathing it in, and yeah, it was a bad error on my part, even though I knew it was going to happen. Yeah, and you might say, well, you're an idiot. Well, yeah, okay, I know. You got me there. So, I'll have another drinky. Now, I said I was going to do this yesterday. I couldn't. Yeah, I was unavoidably detained, as Bill Murray said in Caddyshack. Now, one thing about this pipe is I don't know what kind of paint he painted this with, but and I don't know what these things are made of, because looks like they're made of stainless or something. But there's paint's coming off. It's burnt off. A lot of it's burnt off. So yeah, I don't know. He obviously is not a spray painter, but yeah, you can definitely notice that this pipe is having an effect. I don't even have to put the old pipe on there to check. It's really doing the business. And now I'm just rambling, so I'll stop doing that. So if you're looking for a good sized chainsaw, it's supposed to be 71 something or other, or 72, whatever. Get a Farmertec G372XP. You will not regret it. This is an excellent saw. And this third generation that they're serial numbering and putting NGK spark plugs in and putting proper dogs on, and obviously test firing, and wow, I love this saw. I really do. I can't wait to get the G660. Test that. That's a 92cc. Woohoo! That's might do that tomorrow. I don't know, but yeah, I love this saw. Get one. Nothing's come loose. Nothing's fallen off. It works great. So until tomorrow, see you later.